Comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Team USA really undersold this. The superstars really weren't going, but the rest of the world, Latin America, they really geared up. The Team USA actually put their best foot forward, almost like you're having like the dream team of the United States players here going to be out on the baseball diamond. Great pitching, great superstars around. So Clayton Kersaw's like, you know what? You got a spot for me where you can throw me 70 innings in this tournament because I'm not going to be playing baseball the rest of the year, and I'm just going to go away and relax and be happy.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid on this Monday as we honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thanks for being part of our show today. Lots of NFL recap and preview of tonight's national championship game in South Florida, Miami, and Indiana. We'll preview with Bill Bender of Sporting News. He will join us here on the show. Jacob Kamaker weighs in on the NFL, and so does Vinny Iyer, and they will talk a lot about what we can expect. In addition, Adam Kaplan, our SportsGrid insider, makes an appearance here on the show, as well as Joe Ranieri, with lots to cover on this edition of the show, because this morning we were given a lot of big news, and one of the biggest stories now percolating around the NFL is the fact that the Buffalo Bills are looking for a new head coach. That's right, Sean McDermott, after 9 years and arguably one of the best runs in terms of playoffs for the Bills in their history, has been shown the door. He's been fired, looking for a new gig. The Bills, of course, will now have to hire a new head coach. 10 changes at head coach this season in the National Football League, 8 still available, and naturally a lot of interviews going on, including his offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, who's making the rounds right now as well. Now, the reason perhaps that this happened was because of another early exit in the playoffs, which was one of the most exciting games in the NFL playoffs thus far. The Broncos defeated the Bills 33-30 in overtime. Denver 1.5-point favorites in the game, a back and forth affair constantly, but naturally the Bills lose by 3 or less points in the playoffs 3 straight seasons. Josh Allen with a number of turnovers in this game. And even the bigger story out of this one is Denver advances to play in the AFC Championship and won't have their starting quarterback. Bo Nix suffered a broken ankle and is having surgery. Jarrett Stidham is going to have to start for Denver against his former team in New England. We'll get to the Patriots in a minute. Here's Sean Payton with the announcement after the game.
Not good news. On the second to last play in overtime, Bo fractured a bone in his right ankle. He's scheduled to have surgery Tuesday of this week, which will put him out for the rest of the season. Steady's ready to go. And it was the second to last play before he threw the pass to Mims.
It's extremely difficult. feel like I let my teammates down tonight. Just missed opportunities throughout the game. It's been a long season. I hate how it ended, and it's going to stick with me for a long time.
No Super Bowl for Josh Allen, and as of now, no head coach as well. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots, as I mentioned, headed back to the AFC Championship game. Took a few years off after the Tom Brady era, but here they are again, 28-16, as they defeat the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud threw 4 interceptions this one. Tough game for him. Patriots were 3.5-point favorites. They covered relatively easily. Drake May, although, did fumble 4 times in the game. Weather probably had a lot to do with it. But Mike Vrabel, who, of course, played a big role in the Patriots' success over the years as well, talked about getting the win for his organization after.
Well, I'm always excited for our organization, excited for the players. I am appreciative of their work and their efforts. Everybody's stepping up. We're using everybody. Everybody's making plays. Everybody's helping us win. I'm excited for these guys, but they're also they're not satisfied, and I can tell that. And it wasn't pretty. Defense kept us in there, and then when we needed it, our offense was able to come through late in the game there in the second half with a touchdown, give us a 2-score lead. And then I felt like that drive backed up there from the 3-yard line where we ran the ball and took a lot of clock was pretty classy.
To come here when we needed it most, we didn't protect the ball, and it's tough to think that you're gonna, win a game when you turn the ball over 5 times. And we still had opportunities there. Guys still battle. That's why I love this team. Even though, you shouldn't be able to come back from 5 takeaways, we were still fighting. We were still scratching and clawing to be in that position.
Absolute nail-biter in Chicago last night as the Bears needed a long touchdown at the very end of the game. Looked like almost a Hail Mary to stay in this one and push it to overtime against the Rams. But in the end, Los Angeles is now headed to the NFC Championship game as they end up kicking a field goal to win. The Rams were 3.5-point favorites, so they don't cover that spread in Chicago. McVay, the 20th coach with 10 playoff wins, only 40 years old. What a run he has had. McVay discussed the final moments of overtime, driving down the game to win.
I thought Matthew did a great job of finding Colby early in that drive to be able to get up the sidelines for the first down. Devontae makes an unbelievable catch on the sideline. And then I thought the 3rd and 6 conversion that Nakua had, we took the timeout, didn't like the look. Matthew finds him, and he's so strong. And then we were able to get a few more yards, and then Mevis punches it in. And so hell of a deal right there, but a lot that we can learn from. I'm just really proud of this football team and the resolve. It's served us well. I think we've needed that in each of the last 2 games, and we'll have to be better if we expect to be able to, come away with the result we want against a special football team next week. But we're excited to get a chance back at Lumen.
They ended up making a couple more plays than we did, and that's why ended up going into overtime, and they ended up coming out on top. And so, like I said, disappointing result. Our guys are feeling it right now. They all believed, man. They all believed all year long that we could find a way to win each and every week, and so it's disappointing like that. But
there was only one no contest this weekend. It was the knockout that the Seahawks delivered at the expense of the San Francisco 49ers, 41-6. Seattle 6.5-point favorites. They won by a lot. Seahawks led 7-0, 13 seconds into the game. Rashid Shaheed returned a kick for a touchdown. Second most lopsided playoff loss, by the way, in 49ers history. But naturally, the defense was the story. San Francisco could do nothing, basically, from start to finish in this one. So that has Mike McDonald excited about what's next to come.
Just, kept stacking plays, the takeaways on defense, kept playing, quarterback's a hard guy to contain, and he makes plays, and so you can't get frustrated. You got to keep playing. And then offensively, being able to control the ball never being in jeopardy, being able to run it, scoring on the red zone, all those things we've been trying to do finally coming to life, and you just keep stacking those things, and it was a heck of a win, man. And it's funny, in the locker room, it's like, we're really excited, we're very proud of the effort, but the guys understand that there's still a mission at hand, and we got another week coming up here that we need to take care of business every day. So that's the focus. Proud of the group. We'll celebrate today. Guys will be off tomorrow and back on Monday.
You know, we're real disappointed with today. We obviously didn't have it today. Credit to them. Try not to harp on that. I try to, we can discuss some of that stuff on Monday when we get back together. But I just thanked them for the whole season, how much they battled through everything. I know everyone in there was sick about tonight and the way that went in every facet. But I try not to make about tonight when I was in there with them. Just kind of thanked them for what they've done all year, and been extremely, extremely proud of everyone in that room throughout this year.
Meanwhile, after all that, we have another game tonight in college football. It's the national championship game. Indiana takes on Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, the home of the Hurricanes, and the Hoosiers 7.5-point favorites, down from 8 or 8.5. Money seemingly coming in on Miami late. Total 47.5, 7:30 kickoff tonight. We have it covered for you on In-Game Live. Also on the PGA Tour, Chris Gotterup, congratulations to him. 50-1 if you bet him this weekend to win the first event on the PGA Tour. He opens up the season out in Hawaii. Congratulations to him. Chris Gotterup is the first winner on the PGA Tour this year. Oklahoma City star Jalen Williams out tonight with Cleveland. He had a hamstring strain in the game against Miami, left that one early. Kevin Durant moved ahead of Dirk Nowitzki for 6th on the NBA's all-time scoring list over the weekend. And John Morant, amidst trade rumors, says that he would like to stay in Memphis, says he's a very loyal guy. We'll see. Coming up next, we dive into the results in the NFL and reaction to Sean McDermott being fired by the Buffalo Bills. Vinny Iyer's up next from Sporting News right after this.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Awesome offensively, and in reality, they weren't awesome offensively. In the first half, they just had the Kwan Lacey broken play. I hate to say this because I do not want to take away credit from everybody who went on the run that they went on. But I think it's fair, maybe you won't, to wonder if that result is different if Lane Kiffin sticks around and everybody else with this Ole Miss.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Vinny Iyer's here from Sporting News. He woke up this morning and he remembered that he's going to be making an appearance with me here on NewsWire, but he didn't know what he'd start off talking about today on the show. That's for sure. We have to change our show around, which changes our conversation with Vinny as well. Vinny, thanks for coming on the show, and good morning to you. And, certainly a fun weekend of games. 2 of the 4 games a classic. Other 2 were kind of duds, but the one game that was an all-time classic between Buffalo and Denver that got the weekend started. I mean, the storylines coming out of this one are as big as maybe any game in NFL history. You have the starting quarterback for one team that got hurt, ain't going to play the rest of the playoffs. And that team that beat the other team, the coach ended up getting fired a couple of days after. Vinny, wow, what a crazy set of events.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's dominated the whole weekend, regardless of the other results. The Seahawks blowing out the 49ers. The Rams and Bears played a pretty good one last night. And then you had a okay game between the Patriots and Texans. But this is the story that you had Josh Allen break down in tears after the game, taking responsibility for the loss. But unfortunately, his ownership thinks that the coach is responsible for the loss, and not just this loss, but not getting to the Super Bowl when the expectations are high, not winning the division, when you don't have a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team in it, getting 2 road games instead of being at home for the playoffs, which was unusual as well for the Bills. So it all didn't work out. They didn't make the run to the Super Bowl. They made a lot of mistakes against the Broncos that cost them. If they didn't have the 5 turnovers, I bet they're in the championship game against the Patriots, and McDermott is still coaching. So a lot of things were on the line in that game, but I feel like a lot is tied to the Chiefs are not in. You should be winning the Super Bowl, and if you didn't, like Baltimore or Buffalo, they're going to make a coaching change. So it's crazy, but that's where we're at right now, where only a handful of coaches are safe, and 4 right now are coaching in the championship games.
Yeah, no, this is the craziest year for coaching without a doubt, and you do have to wonder, had Buffalo just simply caught the ball at the end there with that controversial call, of course, with Brandon Cooks, maybe Sean McDermott is still coaching today, and of course, maybe coaching even in the Super Bowl with another win too. But on the flip side of it, we have the ultimate situation that we've rarely seen in the history of the NFL, Vinny, which is the quarterback that took them there is not going to be playing for them. That is Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos, who fractured his ankle and is going to miss the rest of the playoffs. So that means after a 3-touchdown, 279 performance day, that Jarrett Stidham allegedly is going to start in this game this weekend. Now, as of right now, Sean Payton showing a lot of confidence, saying, I would say this in fairness to what you've seen, which is limited, he's ready, and said that he will just watch out for him or whatever. Now, I will say this, Vinny, about this situation. Now, I'm trying to think of NFL history. I do remember Carson Wentz getting hurt, Nick Foles taking over, winning a Super Bowl. I do remember Washington many, many years ago benching Jay Schrader. Doug Williams got his first Super Bowl from there. But this is sort of unprecedented here because you not only have a quarterback who's going to play here, Vinny, in this spot, who, by the way, Stidham could be very capable because he's played well in the past. But we're talking about a guy that hasn't played in years. What do you make of this?
Yeah, the last time we saw him on the field for the Broncos, he was keeping Russell Wilson from getting extra money from the Broncos. That's why he started in 2023. It was the only reason he started in 2023. And Bo Nix has been healthy and made every start the past 2 seasons. So you've not seen Jarrett Stidham throw a pass in a regular season game since 2023. Now, this is the problem. The Patriots defense is playing really well. They took out some really experienced quarterbacks right now, Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud. I don't know if there's a lot of quarterbacks, regardless, that the Broncos could trot out there that they would feel good about beating this Patriots defense. They're making a lot of big plays. They're pressuring the quarterback. They're intercepting a lot of passes at this point. So it's kind of scary to face this defense. And now you got a guy that's not going to create the same way. Bo Nix was a great improviser. His legs were a big factor on why the Broncos were able to beat the Bills. He also has an incredible record in the fourth quarter with comebacks. You just don't replace that kind of mindset and clutch quarterbacking with anybody, right? So Bo Nix really is going to be being more appreciated because Jarrett Stidham is in there, I think, because you had Bo Nix in there. I think the Broncos would have a little bit better chance right now. Look at the Patriots, still not as big a favorites as I thought, around 5.5 points in this one. But I just think the Patriots defense, the way they've been played the last 2 weeks, and Drake May has not even had his best, that I don't see a way that Denver can survive this. It's just an unfortunate break, but yeah, we haven't seen it before. We've seen it with Jeff Hostetler and Nick Foles and the Williams situation you mentioned, but not with the quarterback who is actively playing through the divisional playoffs in an overtime game, getting hurt before the championship game. So we're in new territory, and I think it's just bad luck here for Denver because I think, unfortunately, it would have been a great game, I think, if Nix was in there versus May.
It does make for a fascinating setup coming this weekend, regardless of the outcome. And as Vinny mentioned, the odds are right now New England -5.5. By the way, with the news of the injury, this line opened up at 3.5. So the number has been climbing ever since. We'll see what ends up happening this weekend. Denver also did sign Bo DiNucci to be the third string quarterback. Sam Ehlinger is their backup. You mentioned the Patriots. They had their way defensively. Let's close the book on the Houston Texans season, Vinny, who I thought their defense once again played great. I don't know what was going on in CJ Stroud in this game. He threw 4 interceptions. 3 were his fault. Obviously, I watched the game closely like you. I mean, look, Houston's not going to have to do any soul searching. This guy is going to be their quarterback going into next year. But I don't know what I've seen the last few weeks out of him. It almost seems like they relied on the defense too much. Maybe they have to change the play calling, offensive coordinator. I can't see Houston just simply going back into next season and running it back. I think something will change.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks had a better blueprint here. They had the running game and a dedicating to the running game, right? Where the dedication is we're going to run the ball more than half the time, take pressure off our quarterback, not make it about Sam Darnold. I don't know the Texans could rely on their running game in the same way. They had some flashes of Woody Marks and all that, but it also was extremely difficult. Nico Collins was such a dominant number one. They had to drop off with experience at that position. They didn't really have other guys other than Christian Kirk make plays, and then Dalton Schultz get hurt in the game as well. So they need to keep improving those weapons. I know they have some young guys for Stroud, but he's just got to play better if they're going to get past this round. They've been able to win in the playoffs, but they got to win more, and that's all on CJ Stroud going forward.
All right, Vinny, have a great week. Thanks again for coming on.
Well, thanks, Greg.
We'll preview the national championship next. It's the Sports Grid Sound Off. Don't go away.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy sports today. Only on SportsGrid.
Awesome offensively, and in reality, they weren't awesome offensively. In the first half, they just had the Kwan Lacey broken play. I hate to say this because I do not want to take away credit from everybody who went on the run that they went on. But I think it's fair, maybe you won't, to wonder if that result is different if Lane Kiffin sticks around and everybody else with this Ole Miss.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Capping off the big weekend of football is the College Football National Championship tonight at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Indiana takes on the Miami Hurricanes, who will play at home in front of their home fans. Indiana certainly traveling very well. I see them in town this weekend all over the place. Let's get a preview of the game, and we will hear from Kurt Signetti, Mario Cristobal in this edition of the Sports Grid Sound Off. Well, this game certainly has all the storylines. University of Miami back in the college football championship for the first time in a couple of decades. Of course, Indiana has never been there before. You have a quarterback that's won the Heisman Trophy, playing for the national championship in the place that he grew up in South Florida as well. Full storylines are here. Let's start off with Curt Cignetti and Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. Cignetti says he's got a ton of respect for Mario Cristobal and Miami and knows exactly what they required to get to this point.
Really got a lot of respect for the Miami Hurricane organization, football program. When you watch these guys on tape, they really play the game with tenacity, intensity, physical, relentless, get after it. Coach Cristobal's done a great job with that program, and it's going to be a huge challenge for our football team, and looking forward to the game.
Yeah, I would say it means so much to myself and my family, having grown up in Miami, growing up a University of Miami fan, and basically whole identity being, a Cuban living in Miami whose grandparents, all four grandparents, immigrated from Cuba to Miami, made their way, had the American dream, and I've been so thankful to them and thankful to God that I've been able to have a good childhood and them raising me by accomplishing the American dream. And I think it just means so much to my family as, playing in Miami against the University of Miami, the journey, it's kind of like a full circle moment, but also it means a lot to a lot of my teammates and coaches and also everybody in Hoosier Nation just because it is a national championship. And so I could selfishly say, it means so much to me, but in reality, I do it for my teammates and my coaches because the national championship, it's the big one, and I really do it for them.
Mendoza went to Columbus High School in Miami. That's right. Going to play against the team that he grew up rooting for and naturally knew a lot about Mario Cristobal, who also, of course, has a lot of experience as a player and now as a coach at the University of Miami as well. Cristobal talked about this past week, the preparation and what they can expect going into Monday night.
Well, yesterday's a typical Thursday practice, and I think the processes themselves are no different than any other Thursday, but every team is unique, right? Everyone is uniquely special and different, and has brought something different to the lives of all the people around them. But I don't see us getting caught up in any nostalgic moments or whatnot. I just really sense that our team was really focused, that they were really intent on carrying out the rest of the day's processes, knowing the tremendous opportunity that we have. And that's how we closed out the evening, and that's how we got ready this morning to go and continue our process.
Yeah, of course. And obviously for my story, it's a little bit different because I was at Georgia for 5 years. I stuck it out. I sat for 3 years. I waited my turn to have the opportunity to be a quarterback at the University of Georgia. Obviously, I have the injury and things don't pan out the way that I exactly thought they were going to. And then I was blessed with the opportunity to enter the transfer portal, to have another opportunity to play at the University of Miami. Obviously, talking to Coach Cristobal, talking to Coach Dawson in that process, this is what we thought we could do. This is what we thought that this team was capable of. Obviously, you have to go out and execute, right? Talent only takes you so far, but the way that this team has been able to come together, the way that we've been able to battle adversity and fight through this season and ultimately earn this opportunity to play in this game has been awesome, and it's obviously everything that we worked for.
And kickoff tonight at Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida is 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you catch our Game Time Decisions and in-game live coverage. Right now, the line seems to be Indiana's going to be more than a 7-point favorite going into this game any way you look at it. They went from 7.5 to 8 to 8.5, back down to 8. Now some money coming in on Miami, so you can see the current line is Hoosiers minus 7.5. The total pretty much sticking 47.5 as well, but that key number is if you do think Miami wins the national championship, you got plus 260 on the money line there on FanDuel. And by the way, if you want to stream our programming tonight as a side screen to the national championship game, you can always download the SportsGrid app. It's available for iOS and Android. And if you're placing bets, you can track those, including prop bets tonight. Download the SportsGrid app, take out your phone, scan that QR code for iOS and Android. You'll be all set streaming our shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Coming up next, we got Jacob Kamaker in the house from USA Today to recap what happened in the NFL and look toward the future AFC and NFC championship games. Watching NewsWire on SportsGrid.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Team USA really undersold this. The superstars really weren't going, but the rest of the world, Latin America, they really geared up. The Team USA actually put their best foot forward, almost like you're having like the dream team of the United States players here going to be out on the baseball diamond, great pitching, great superstars around. So Clayton Kersaw's like, you know what, you got a spot for me where you can throw me 70 innings in this tournament because I'm not going to be playing baseball the rest of the year, and I'm just going to go away and relax and be happy.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of like in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done. Right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Let's check in with Jacob Kamiker from USA Today for the latest in the NFL with some big news with the firing of Sean McDermott, but we also have some AFC and NFC championship games to get to as well. Jacob, thanks for coming on the show. Let's start off here with the game last night that really delivered an all-time classic. And I mean, honestly, when you think about the Chicago Bears and the season that they had, definitely worth talking about. Caleb Williams with that last-second touchdown in the back of the end zone to Cole Kmet, and had the opportunity to beat the Rams in overtime. What a game it ended up being.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that Caleb Williams play. That showed off kind of what we've seen from Caleb throughout this second season and first season with Ben Johnson. Is he may have some bumps in the road with his accuracy. He may need to improve in that area, but the star caliber throws that he can make and those plays that he can make when he's on the run, fading back, they're really second to none. So you look at that just pure star potential in him and you say, man, the sky is the limit for him. Iron out the consistency and this team could be great. And credit to them for staying in that one. I will say that Sean McVay had a few questionable late game coaching decisions just before the 2-minute warning. I thought they had a chance to go for a kill shot by passing on a 3rd and 7. They opted to run the ball, play it safe conservatively, try to use up that 2-minute warning timeout. But I thought if they had just passed there when they had the 7-point lead, they could have just gotten the first down, ended the game, and really just, or at least made it very difficult on the Bears. So I think McVay, I have McDermott on my mind. It's been a long morning.
Yeah,
but I think McVay is going to go back and look at this tape and say to himself, I got to be better in these spots and just really think about how he's going to manage end game situations if it gets into another close one. He's been here and done it before, but this just wasn't his best effort.
Yeah, and look, the Rams have not played great football. They've been winning games, but not playing great. Much better earlier in the season than they have later in the season. But Stafford 7-2 in the playoffs with the Rams. That trade that they made for Jared Goff certainly has paid off for them. They win a Super Bowl, and now they are on the verge of going back to another one. They'll have to win in Seattle to get that done. And then the assessment on the Bears as we close the book on them, Jacob, nothing to be, I would say, upset about if you're a fan. The only thing that I would guess is this team does remind me a little bit of Washington of a year ago, where everything that could go right went right for them. And I just wonder going into next year, if you expect that kind of luck to happen 2 years in a row, I don't think it's very likely. Not to say that they can't be a good team, but to have all of those crazy comebacks at the end would seemingly be doubtful.
I agree with that. I think also, Craig, they need to upgrade their defense just a little bit. The only thing that they were lacking this season, their offense really took steps forward under Ben Johnson, but their defense just didn't really have a big-time pass rush. They need to get someone to pair with Montez Sweat. That'll make things easier on their back seven where they have a lot of talent, especially in coverage. So I think there's reason to be optimistic about the Bears. I don't think they'll have the same type of fall off as Washington, because Washington achieved what they did last year with an offense that was aging and really not very good. They just went on an all-time run. I think this Bears team is a little bit better than that, but you're definitely right. They need some reinforcements, and they're ahead of schedule, but it'll be interesting to see how Johnson builds things up in year two.
So Seattle crushes San Francisco. They're 1 win away from not just being in the Super Bowl, but I would assume no matter what, Jacob, being favored in the Super Bowl. They've been that good. And regardless if it's Denver or New England, I would assume the Seahawks will be favored to take home the Super Bowl in Santa Clara coming up next month. Sam Darnold did enough to win because they didn't need anything else. It just, time ran out on the 49ers, a lot of injuries. And, certainly right at the top of the game, they were down 7-0 to me. So as the second quarter was going on, it just sort of felt, Jacob, like they were not going to be able to get back in this game. And credit to the 49ers for having the season they had with all those injuries. But right now, Seattle looks like the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, credit to Kyle Shanahan. He really got the most out of that 49ers team that was never fully healthy at any point, really. You could make the case they were close to it against the Eagles, but then they lost George Kittle in that game. So, there was always going to come to an end at some point. They're another team that, like the Bears, that didn't have a very consistent pass rush. I believe they ranked bottom 3 in pressure rate during the season. So being without Nick Bosa and all those guys on the defensive line really hurt them. But Seattle's looking like a true juggernaut right now. That defense is absolutely terrifying. There's really no weakness in it. They attack. They're excellent in coverage. They get pressure from all different areas. So any team that faces Seattle, any of the 3 remaining, is going to have a really tough time consistently moving the ball. The only question is, will they be able to do enough on offense? They obviously ran the ball very well against the 49ers, which was critical because I went into that game worried, Craig, about Sam Darnold's oblique. He hadn't thrown since Thursday, and I kind of got a little bit scared. I was thinking to myself, we don't want this to be a close game and Sam Darnold have to throw while dealing with an injury, but you only had to attempt 17 passes because the Seahawks were able to lean on their running game. For them to win the Super Bowl, they'll need to do that continually moving forward, control the game with the running game and the defense, and I think they'll have a shot at winning it. But I agree with you, Craig. I think no matter who they play in the Super Bowl and here on out, they're going to continue to be favored. But that game against the Rams, that's going to be a tough one for them. We've already seen it a couple times this year. They've played a couple close ones. It should be very exciting NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and look, to win the Super Bowl, it tells the story. The odds are Seattle plus 150, 70 cents ahead of the other 2 teams. So if Seattle wins on Sunday against the Rams, they'll probably be, I would guess, 2.5, 3-point favorites over New England. And the Rams, Patriots, if that ends up being the Super Bowl, that could be a pick 'em. As you could see, the odds are telling us the same thing about both teams. Denver, of course, a long shot. You never know, but having a backup quarterback going into the AFC Championship, not always ideal. Kevin Stefanski was hired by Arthur Blank and the Atlanta Falcons over the weekend, so that's one chip to fall here. Stefanski, 2 playoff appearances with the Browns, and now inherits a much better offensive situation and probably, I would say, a much better team overall than the Cleveland Browns as well, Jacob. But he'll still have his work cut out for him because naturally, Atlanta, for whatever reason, is just a perennial underachiever. It felt like watching them at the end of the season, particularly against the Rams, that, hey, why isn't this team in the playoffs? They look like better than Carolina, maybe even better than Tampa Bay. You think Stefanski can get this team going in the right direction?
I think he can, Craig, because you look at this Atlanta personnel, as you mentioned, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They have a lot of great skill position weapons. Their blockers up front are very good. The main question they have on offense is at quarterback, where they have 2 options, really. They have Kirk Cousins and they have Michael Penix Jr., and neither during their time with the Falcons together these 2 years has really emerged as a consistent option. Kirk Cousins had an inconsistent first season after signing that huge contract, dealt with kind of those injury issues that he didn't really talk about until he was on, I believe, Netflix's Quarterback ahead of this season. So, that was tough for him in the first year. Then this year, Michael Penix Jr. got his chance, and he was okay. He was a little up and down. Obviously, first full year as a starter, so you expect that a bit, but then he hurt his knee. So you're looking at a quarterback situation where you still don't have an answer there, which can't feel good for Kevin Stefanski, who just navigated that for 6 seasons in Cleveland. and had to deal with the Deshaun Watson albatross contract. But I think he will get the most out of the rest of the offensive weapons. And like you mentioned, the whole roster in Atlanta is just much better than what they have in Cleveland. So with them keeping Jeff Ulbrich in place as defensive coordinator, I think the Falcons are going to have a chance to win that division next year, so long as Stefanski can figure out the right thing to do at quarterback, whatever that may be.
8 openings right now in the National Football League, with Stefanski now off the board and McDermott currently on the board. Buffalo, Miami, Baltimore, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Cleveland, and then the Raiders. Who knows who they will hire at the end. I guess if I was to ask you this week, Jacob, and I set the amount of coaches being hired this week on our very own Sportsbook here at SportsGrid, right? I set the number of hires this week at 1.5. 1.5 hires. Would you say over or under that number?
I'm going to go over because I think there's been buzz about the Dolphins potentially getting Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator. And I think one of these other places will fill up, unless they're all looking at guys on the Rams, Seahawks, and Broncos, which is well within the realm of possibility, Craig. Those guys have been getting a lot of interviews throughout this process, but I think we'll get a couple coaching hires this week. We'll see what ends up happening, though.
All right, Jacob. Great stuff as always. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk again next week here on NewsWire. Thanks again.
Sounds good. Thanks, Craig. Take care.
All right, up next, we push things forward to the AFC and NFC championship games. We'll check in with our resident odds expert, Joe Ranieri of SportsGrid next.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Team USA really undersold this. The superstars really weren't going, but the rest of the world, Latin America, they really geared up. The Team USA actually put their best foot forward, almost like you're having like the dream team of the United States players here going to be out on the baseball diamond. Great pitching, great superstars around. So Clayton Kersaw's like, you know what? You got a spot for me where you can throw me 70 innings in this tournament because I'm not going to be playing baseball the rest of the year, and I'm just going to go away and relax and be happy.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire. We'll discuss tonight's college football national championship game. Joe Ranieri and I, both South Florida residents. I am about, 15, 20 minutes from the stadium. Joe, about 40 minutes if he drives fast. I don't think either of us are going to brave the elements and go to this game tonight. Elements meaning trying to get in and out tonight. That's going to be an adventure. But we'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about the opening lines of the NFL games. Joe, this was the biggest move thus far. Even with Bo Nix being out, Joe, the look ahead, once that happened, I was popping on FanDuel and DraftKings, was New England minus 3.5 at Denver. And then I woke up this morning and I saw 5.5 Total of 40.5 for a championship game, which tells us not a lot of scoring going on. Look, I will say this for Jarrett Stidham. I mean, Joe, he's had some big games, right? Like he's thrown for a few 300-yard games. I don't think that this is a Max Brosmer, Nathan Peterman situation. I think Peyton will do a good job. He's done a good job with Taysom Hill in the past. I don't know. I would not rule out Denver keeping this game close and maybe winning. I'm not totally dismissing it at this point.
I think this is a lot closer to Jeff Hostetler than anything else here, Greg, if we're being honest. Because, hey, don't forget, I thought two things happened that were very interesting. One is that Sean Payton got out in front of this thing immediately. Nobody expected him back to the platform to give this news out and announce Jarrett Stidham as the starter. Now, had this been Belichick, we probably wouldn't have found out this until Wednesday or Thursday this week. But I thought it was very telling what he did there. He wanted to come out in front because he wanted him, his team to know, and Stidham and everyone else. Jarrett Stidham's our guy. And Jarrett Stidham is his guy. He purposely chose him as this backup. And although he didn't throw a pass this year, wasn't in it, you're right. Don't forget, you know who else picked Jarrett Stidham? The offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots when he was the head coach over in Vegas. So, it's not like he's incapable. And quite honestly, nothing changes game plan-wise, I think, for Denver. They got to play great defense. They got to be great on special teams. And they got to be able to run the ball. And that's it, period. And I think, obviously, as long as Jarrett Stidham doesn't turn into, a pumpkin here like the Houston quarterback, Denver's very much alive and well in this game. But you and I both know, Craig, the public is already hammering New England. They don't even think Denver should show up to this game. It's already been decided. Patriots are punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. I would slow your roll on that just yet.
Yeah, I mean, the last quarterback for the Raiders to throw for over 350 yards was Jarrett Stidham. I mean, I'm just saying, like this doesn't. I would not completely dismiss the idea of Denver winning this game. I mean, he's not
correct.
There's 32 teams or whatever in the National Football League, and I would say, Joe, 17, 18 backups, I would look at and say, no shot. He's not one of them. He is one that I would say maybe gives you an opportunity. Meanwhile, the Seahawks will be favored to win the Super Bowl if they win Sunday. Their defense is playing out of this world. That game that they played against the Rams a couple of weeks ago on Thursday night was arguably the best Thursday night game of the season. They're 2.5-point favorites, total 47.5. I expect the Rams, Joe, to come in and play very well in this one. But from what I've seen from Seattle, they do seem like the best team in the NFL right now. And I think that line is fair. 2.5 maybe becomes 3, I would say, by kickoff.
Well, what we've learned, though, in these spots, Craig, is that the best teams don't always win. And again, we've got another round 3, a trilogy going on here, right, in the postseason, because these two teams, division rivals, we watched the Seahawks win 38-37 in overtime in Week 16. That was a Thursday night game. The line in that game was Seattle -1.5 to -2.5. The total hovered around 42.5. The Rams had won 21-19 5 weeks prior in Week 11. The Rams were a 3.5-point favorite. The total was much higher, 48.5 to 49.5. So we went under in that Week 11 game. We went over, obviously, in that Week 16 game. So the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. But my question, Craig, is which Sam Darnold do we get? Because apparently we got one against the 49ers that did not need to throw the ball or test that oblique injury very much. He's going to have to throw the ball in this game against the Rams. The Rams are not the 49ers. So he is going to be tested. We're going to see how much that oblique injury is going to be an issue. But do not be shocked if it's Jarrett Stidham versus Drew Lock in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Can you imagine that? What the Super Bowl we would have there. You mentioned Hostetler. Hostetler and Doug Williams gonna square off in the Super Bowl too. All right,
Crazy.
so national championship tonight. Joe is pulling for the University of Miami. I mean, I've as a kid went to the Orange Bowl, watched Miami play, and then I went to the University of Florida. my allegiance goes to the University of Florida. I am a Gator. But I am with Joe in this sense. I don't get this line. I don't see how Miami can't keep this close tonight, maybe win it. They're plus 260 on the money line. The game against Ohio State, Joe, was the one for me. Like, after watching that game, I'm like, they may not win the championship, but there's no way you can make another team a 7-point favorite against them. But here we are again. They've done it. I get it. The Hoosiers are a great team, and they played very well. But I would take the points tonight. I can't look at any other way.
Great. Again, the market, you listen to anybody, you'd be hard-pressed to say anybody pointing to Miami. The way the market is priced this and the way they're betting it is they already know what the final score is. That, Miami shouldn't even get off the bus. Just stay home. Don't even show up to the game because Indiana's already won. Well, the only data point that matters to me is common opponent at this point. And the common opponent they've had over the last month is Ohio State. One team struggled with Ohio State. The other team handled them rather easily. And they aren't exactly what this market is saying it is here. So a 320-pound average weight on an offensive line versus a 260-pound average weight on a defensive line. I think Indiana in the trenches is going to have their hands full tonight.
Yeah, no, and I think, by the way, Indiana could win, but I do think it's like a field goal game, very tight, right
Correct.
to the end. That's the way that I see it happening. All right, Joe, enjoy the game tonight. I'll do the same, and we'll check back again next week. Thanks for coming on.
I'll meet you in the parking lot B. No.
Yeah, I don't think so. We'll never get out of there if we go there.
Exactly.
We'll be right back. Don't go away.
The immediate word on the street in Philadelphia and outside is that the best guy for the job would be Brian Dable. It's like all you have to do is spend an hour of your life with me and Tyrone every day, and you're going to learn so much and be prepared for future conversations. Because I told you this back in November.
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid. It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Having covered the University of Miami in person about 25 years ago when they played for the national championship in Pasadena, and having gone back-to-back years to the Fiesta Bowl to watch Miami, and then having covered games at Hard Rock Stadium for the national championship, including the Florida Gators playing Oklahoma, Florida State, I am a little sad to not see this one in person tonight. And then I have to remember, it's a lot more comfortable just watching the game at home at this stage for me, especially having to be right back on the air tomorrow. But for Rich Sermonillo It is all about not the U, but it's all about the game tonight. So let's get a preview from Rich. Of course, he's been with us all season long. And by the way, Rich is going to be on our show tomorrow here on NewsWire to recap everything that he saw during the college football season and for the national championship recap tomorrow here on NewsWire. So without further ado, let's get a preview of tonight's national championship game, Indiana versus Miami, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Indiana 7.5-point favorites. Let's see who Rich likes tonight.
Craig, we've got one game left in college football. Figures to be a fantastic one in Miami, Hard Rock Stadium, national championship between Miami and Indiana. Just to put it in perspective as to why, I get a sense maybe you're getting the same sort of feeling. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for this game, a lot of excitement across the country, even for people who are not fans of the Canes or the Hoosiers. Preseason 30-1, Miami to win a national championship. Indiana, hard to believe at this stage, was 100-1. So I think a lot of folks, for me, excited that it's not Blue Bloods, it's not SEC, it's not Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, even Clemson from a few years ago. You've got some fresh blood here, and I think folks are excited. Now, in terms of the game itself, I'm going to stick to what I mentioned last week. I have Indiana slightly in this game. The line I had set was at 10. I know that goes contrary to what a lot of people believe. I think there are a lot of folks who think that Miami is being underrated, that the line possibly has been overinflated based on Indiana's blowout of Oregon. I disagree. I think they're a substantially better team than Miami. Better quarterback, better coach, much better skill position players, especially at wide receiver. Indiana goes very deep. And the one thing that gets often overlooked is the Indiana defense. I think there's an opportunity here to neutralize the biggest advantage that Miami has, which is that defensive front. People talk about Fernando Mendoza. They talk about Curt Cignetti, but very little talk about a defense that gives up 11 points per game. Number 2 in the country at stopping the run, and Miami has to run the ball tonight to have success. Under 80 yards per game for the Indiana run defense. Number 3 in the country in sacks. Number 3 in the country in takeaways. So a high chaos factor for Indiana. And I think at some point, Craig, that catches up to Carson Beck, who has been very good in the postseason. He's largely been clean, and he's had to. But what I see in this game is close beyond halftime, something around 23-20. Indiana gets a big turnover, turns it into points. 30-20 is what I have. I don't love the total. I am a small lean towards Indiana, 30-20, plus 10 in this game. What I really like, though, is a couple of prop bets I want to throw your way. First off, I see both of these teams as slow starters offensively. So I have first half under 24 for this game. Miami, look back at the last 12 games. 11 of those 12 have finished under 24 in the first half. 8 of the last 12 for Indiana, under that number. So I'm on first half total under 24. I also like Indiana's rushing total under 158. Looks like a very high figure. They run the ball very well. Miami, about as good as anyone in the country at stopping the run. Look at what they've done against Texas A&M, what they did against Ohio State, and then Ole Miss. All 3 of those games well under 158. So under 158 Indiana rushing total, the second prop bet that I like. I think the Hoosiers win a national championship tonight, finish a remarkable story under Curt Cignetti. Just to reiterate, I have the Hoosiers by 10. I've got first half under 24 total, and I have Indiana rushing under 158 for what should be a very entertaining national championship game. Season's over, kind of sad, but this time next week we're going to discuss the top individual performances from the postseason and then get an early look at 2026. Transfer portal just closed, so we're getting some leans already on who the favorites are for next year's national championship.
the immediate word on the street in Philadelphia and outside is that the best guy for the job would be Brian Dable. It's like all you have to do is spend an hour of your life with me and Tyrone every day, and you're going to learn so much and be prepared for future conversations. Because I told you this back in November.
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid. It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed, built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. How many Black Mondays are we going to have this football season? I don't know. We're going to have one next week, too. Let's find out from Adam Kaplan, our SportsGrid insider, Adam. And it's a rite of passage now to fire a coach on a Monday. How many Mondays in a row are we going to have coaches fired? Are you telling me that, maybe the Rams lose and they fire McVay on Monday? Like, I don't get it. Sean McDermott is out as head coach of the Bills, and McDaniel had a winning record, and certainly didn't win a lot, but McDermott did, Tomlin did, Harbaugh did. Like, a lot of winning coaches are now available. And what can you tell us about the future for McDermott and the Buffalo Bills at this point as they look for their next head coach?
Yeah, so what made this one interesting is that, Sean McDermott, they talk about winning, and he and Brandon Beane that came in together from the Panthers. McDermott, during the regular season, 48 games over 500, 8-8 during the playoffs. But the key is they couldn't get to the Super Bowl. To me, and we'll never truly know this because teams just don't wake up. Owners, in this case, Terry Pegula, doesn't wake up in the morning and says, you know what, I want to fire the head coach. It's generally over a series of weeks and sometimes months that it's on his mind. But there was a belief around the league, as long if they could get to the Super Bowl, not necessarily win it, McDermott could have come back for another season, but it didn't happen. But the fascinating part about this is, in Pegula's statement, and this is you got to pay attention to these things. These things mean something.
Sure.
That basically the coaches now, whoever the new head coaches, will report based on the language in the statement. Will report now to Brandon Beane, the general manager. He got a promotion, by the way. He got a new title added to the general manager part, director of football operations, the general manager. So he's got a lot of power now, which he didn't have. He originally, before this today, he had control of the 53. He didn't have control of the coaches, and I don't know that he had control over, who played and who didn't. That's usually a coaching decision. But pretty much now he's got all the juice, and it's important, by the way, for the new head coach or anyone who's going to interview to know that. Coaching agents are going to want to know that who's got the power in the building, and who does my client report to. And now it's very clear they report to Brandon Beane.
I saw Joe Brady interviewed with the Dolphins. I mean, it feels like the Dolphins, by the way, Adam, have interviewed more coaches than anybody right now. I mean, it seems every day it's like two more guys. Today, Shepard, I guess. But so are we led to believe that Buffalo's next head coach could be a familiar face like a Brady or a Daboll, and then shift over to McDermott here for a minute, because I don't think he carries the Harbaugh cachet, but there are 8 jobs. He's going to get one of them, right?
Yeah, listen. I expect Sean McDermott to get interest for head coaching vacancies that we know of. There's no question about it, because he's done. And yes, Brandon Beane, who picked the players, is part of it. They had not made the playoffs for the 20 years prior till these guys getting there. He's going to have interest. There's no question about it. But he's from the defensive side of football. But you know what's interesting about Sean McDermott? He does have an analytical background. He actually started in the Eagles salary cap department back in the early 2000s before he became an assistant coach, then defense coordinator. He's got that in his background. But look, Terry Pagula has not had to do this in a long time. Search for a new head coach. So this is going to be interesting to see what he does here. And look, if you follow Pagula at all, he had been through a number. He's owned the Sabres. He's gone through a number of head coaches there. But he's shown incredible patience with McDermott, and particularly Beane, because Beane picks the players. Hey, by the way, the pressure's going to be on Brandon Beane now. Look, you got Josh Allen right, and some others. But there's a belief around the league is that they've asked Josh Allen to do way too much to carry this football team.
Yeah, I mean, look, similar to Kansas City when they let go of Tyreek Hill and they won the championship. Buffalo lets Diggs go. And then basically, I know they tried by drafting Keon Coleman, but they really did not make the effort they needed to get him help. And by the way, my first thought when Brandon Cooks was lying on the ground and catch or no catch, my first thought, Adam, was, you know what? If that was a great receiver in the prime of his career, maybe that guy makes that catch. That was my thought, not the fact that is it or is it not. Why is Brandon Cooks such a big part of a last-second play in an NFL game for the Buffalo Bills, let alone, I think that question had to be asked.
No, you hit on Keon Coleman. Now, Keon Coleman, what's interesting about him, for over 2 months, he was healthy and active, and then they finally played him. And he showed some promise late in the season, but obviously he's been a bust to this point. A second-round pick who was expected to be their starting X-receiver. That's a true, quote-unquote, number one receiver, and that clearly has not happened. They've been Joe Brady's done a great job in terms of the run game. He's tried to take some pressure off Josh Allen, but though McDermott's defense, always competitive, really a good defense. But the thing is, they're not a shutdown defense. And ultimately, it's been up to Josh Allen to try to win the game for them. And Brandon Cooks, by the way, has had a good career. He's had a very good career, but he's near the end.
Oh, excellent.
So, yeah, look, it's Brandon Beane's got to get Josh Allen better football players, particularly at the receiver position, no doubt.
Yeah, easy one there. Okay, so here's the tough one. So Denver's got to roll into the AFC Championship with Jarrett Stidham here, and Adam, I think it's a terrible scenario for them, but I also would say, Adam, it could be worse, because at least I've seen Stidham throw for 300 yards and play okay at different times, and he does have a good head coach there. Like, I would not feel the same if this was Minnesota's situation, I guess, as an example there. So I think Denver keeps this close. I think they can win this game still.
Well, with that elite defense, and now the Patriots have to do it on the road. But look, the odds makers, we could disagree or agree, depending on which book you looked at. It's either 4.5 or 5.5, minus 5.5 for the Patriots, because obviously they have to be the favorite in this game. But Jarrett Stidham is an interesting player. I've talked to people who've graded his tape over the years, college tape in particular. He's a time-and-base quarterback, average arm strength, good size, by the way. But he's got to get it out quickly and process quickly, or he struggles. And Belichick drafted him in New England. And here you go here, ironically, he's going against the team that drafted him in the 4th round in 2019. Look, Bo Nix, it's a shame. I mean, what an incredible way to finish that game. And as you know, he broke his right ankle, so you won't see him until the spring. But look, when you play great defense, you have a shot. You have a shot. But to me, on paper, stranger things have happened. This should be a low-scoring game. That's generally the way the Patriots try to play it. Now, the craziness of the 8 turnovers in this past game, that when you give the opponent great field position, obviously the score is going to go up a little bit. But that game, the Patriots have to be a road favorite here, and they are.
Yeah, they are. It's gone from 3.5 to 5.5, and I think that's actually fair. Seattle minus 2.5 against the Rams in the NFC Championship game. This could be a wild one. These teams played one of the best games of the season in the NFL a few weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. But Seattle is playing the best football of the 4 teams remaining. I think that's fair to say.
They are, and look, what's ironic. They're the best road team in the National Football League for the last 2 seasons, but they're at home for this one. And let's face it, Seattle should have won that game when Darnold had 4 turnovers. They had it, and Darnold turned it over. He's playing good football now. Kenneth Walker's come alive. They're starting running back number 9. And Charbonnet suffered a bad knee injury, his backup. And Charbonnet, where they'll miss him is pass protection. He's very good on third down. But Matthew Stafford, look, hopefully it doesn't, it could always rain there in Seattle, but you're not having to worry about snow most likely. But give the Rams credit for finding a way to win that game in awful conditions, so that you feel good about this. This is going to be a tight one, but that Rams game, by the way, Seattle opened at 1.5, now they're 2.5. My early call would be Seattle, but this should be a tight one.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Okay, so as we wrap this up, Adam, let's get back to coaching here for a minute. Yep. With my previous guest, I made my own coaching hire FanDuel total of the week, and I set the line for the amount of coaches. Adam, I'll ask you the same thing. I set the line at 1.5 coaches hired this week only, 1.5. Would you go over or under that?
Well, I would go over for counting Sunday as part of it. Okay, the weekend, guys get hired over the weekend. Tennessee, do not be surprised in the next 48 hours from what I've been hearing. There's a very realistic chance over the next 48 hours that they get their guy. We'll see what happens.
All right. Adam, great stuff as always. Enjoy your week, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bill Bender's up next.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Awesome offensively, and in reality, they weren't awesome offensively. In the first half, they just had the Kawan Lacey broken play. I hate to say this because I do not want to take away credit from everybody who went on the run that they went on. But I think it's fair, maybe you won't, to wonder if that result is different if Lane Kiffin sticks around and everybody else with this Ole Miss.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Bill Bender is all set to go. The national championship is tonight in Miami Gardens. Bill Bender is stationed in Miami, probably, I would guess, about an hour away probably from leaving the hotel and going over to the game tonight, where, of course, the national championship will be the final game of the season. Bill, thanks for coming on and taking the time here to make the appearance here on NewsWire today. Really appreciate it. So, Bill, you've now been in South Florida for a few days. You've heard the press conferences. You've gotten to hear what they had to say. Is there anything that we have learned or you have learned new in the last 48 hours that makes you lean one way or the other or change your opinion? I'll get your pick at the end.
Yeah, well, perception, right? You see the size of Miami's offensive line at media day, and if you haven't been around it, their tackles are huge. Their defensive linemen are huge. They are definitely got the size advantage on Indiana. So when you get into a game like this, Craig, I always say you actually get a feel for it in that first 10 plays. Okay, who's moving the line of scrimmage? Which way is it going when the ball is snapped? And if Miami can do that on both sides and slow down Indiana's running game, I think that is the number one key early. And with all this talk about the crowd and the ticket prices and how many Indiana fans will be there, I experienced this at Tennessee, Ohio State last year when there were a lot of Vols fans in there. It only made the Ohio State fans that much more rowdy. And I think we could see that happen tonight.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be 50-50 split. I think, look, the prices, I am surprised, and I'm going to hit that in about 10 minutes from now. The prices have really not come down like I would. But again, check back 4 or 5 o'clock to be sure on that, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Current line, by the way, for those of you at home thinking of wagering on the game tonight, let's show it to you. 7.5 points. That's what Indiana's favored tonight. Total of 47.5. Now, first, let's touch on Miami, and then we'll go to Indiana, Bill. So Miami was that team, for those of you who have not paid attention in the last month, arguably had a shot to not even be in this situation, but thankfully the college football playoff decided that their win over Notre Dame was enough to get them into the college football playoff and leave Notre Dame at home. Looks like the right decision. Validation was there. Miami then goes into the college football playoffs. They're underdogs 3 times in a row, coming up with 3 straight wins. Maybe the most impressive of those wins was against Ohio State, with nobody gave them a chance. 10.5-point dogs in that one and won the game outright. And then we sort of got the sense that, hey, maybe this is a team of destiny. Maybe this is a team that can go all the way. Was that the moment for you, that game against Ohio State? Was it sometime before or after? You tell me.
I asked Kirk Herbstreit. He said it was after Texas A&M because they win that first close one in clutch fashion in the fourth quarter. Then they do it again by bleeding the clock out against Ohio State. Then they do it again. So like you said, these fourth quarter touchdown drives with the experience of Carson Beck have been huge. I think getting off the field on third down's been huge. They've allowed just a 25% conversion rate on third down. That's really good. And so what to watch for in the first half is if Indiana gets in a 3rd and 8, is Fernando Mendoza going to go to Elijah Surratt, his go-to receiver, against this Miami secondary that's missing a player because of a targeting call and some injuries. And I think that's the key early in the game. So, yeah, I mean, all of these trends, and really for all that we've criticized Mario Cristobal for some late game management in the past, they've got it done in this playoff.
Indiana, meanwhile, 15-0, very impressive resume, probably more impressive than Miami, just keeping it honest here. They beat Oregon twice, 30-20 and 56-22. They crushed Alabama, and then they have that win over Ohio State, like Miami has that win over Ohio State. So, Bill, this is a team, again, that came off a great season last year, came up short in the playoff, then they get the Heisman Trophy Award winner, and he runs the table, and they've just been blowing everybody out. But I don't know that I get that sense in tonight's game too, Bill. Like I like, again, we'll get to the picks a little bit later, but it seems to me that if you're just looking at the common opponents here, both teams played close games against Ohio State. I think both teams are kind of even going into tonight.
Yeah, and in those games against Ohio State and Penn State and Iowa, Oregon the first time, Indiana averaged less than 4 yards per carry. That's why I keep harping on this stat. If they can just bully you with a running game, it is kind of like the old Saban teams. You have to stop that first and then get after Mendoza, get a couple sacks. From a line of scrimmage standpoint, it could be very even on both sides. Indiana does have a very experienced offensive line, an All-American tackle in Carter Smith, Pat Coogan at center. But they haven't, I don't know that they've faced an edge rush quite like this. I mean, Ohio State got after them with their guys, Caden Curry and Arvell Reese. And Miami's got, I think, another key player in this game, Craig, is Moten in the middle. You know, can he plug up that middle for Miami so Messidor, Basante, and Bain can do their thing?
Let's hit on the quarterbacks here. Carson Beck from Miami, and then we'll go to Mendoza, who hasn't been challenged recently. He'll be challenged a lot, I think, again tonight. Beck has come up with some big moments, rushing in the game winner. He made highlights this week for saying that he hasn't gone to school in 2 years. That was the only thing that I saw that came out of that. And look, Mendoza is the perfect candidate to win a championship and win a Heisman Trophy award. The kid says all the right things. Storybook season coming from Miami and playing at Columbus High School as well.
Yeah, I mean, both of these guys, Beck has been clutch in the playoffs. He hasn't made mistakes. He had the one tipped pass against Ole Miss, and he's going to have to be that against the Indiana team that has the FBS best turnover margin at plus 21. Mendoza, I mean, I can't find anything wrong with him, Craig. I've tried. He's accurate. He's humble. He's the hometown kid. They're smiling through an hour-long press conference session. He's a really good kid. They have to get him off his spots, though, and fluster him a little bit. Because as you can see, I mean, that stat that he has more touchdowns than incompletions in 2 playoff games is pretty incredible.
It really is. All right, Bill, moment of truth here. You're doing this all over radio and television, I'm sure, today, and then you'll be thinking about it in the press box tonight at Hard Rock Stadium. Who wins tonight's game, and what's the final score, in your opinion? National championship game, final game of the year.
The initial prediction I did in print said 31-19 Indiana, but I'm going to shrink it just a little bit. I think it's going to be 28-17. I like Indiana to, Miami can hang around and make this a line of scrimmage game, but I just think these Hoosiers are playing too darn good. And if they get a couple turnovers and the Hurricanes make mistakes, they pull away. But it's a tenuous pick, but I'm going to go Hoosiers.
All right, there you go. Bill Bender taking the Hoosiers tonight at Hard Rock Stadium. Bill, thanks again for making the time with us. And safe travels back to Ohio. Thanks again.
Hey, anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Bill Bender from Sporting News joining us here on the show. Coming up next, we hit on some last licks. Former NFL quarterback knows exactly what Jarrett Stidham is about to go through this week. We'll touch on that next.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Kramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Awesome offensively, and in reality, they weren't awesome offensively. In the first half, they just had the Kwan Lacey broken play. I hate to say this because I do not want to take away credit from everybody who went on the run that they went on. But I think it's fair, maybe you won't, to wonder if that result is different if Lane Kiffin sticks around and everybody else with this Ole Miss.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we wrap it up, a former NFL backup quarterback goes to social media for a little inspiration for the Denver Broncos. A college basketball player has a career game without wearing his proper jersey. And I'll give you the latest update as to how much it would cost you to go to tonight's national championship game in this edition of Last Licks. The last time there was a scenario similar to this issue with Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, it's not quite the same, little bit similar, was Carson Wentz of the Philadelphia Eagles, who led them through the regular season. It's really good. Ended up getting hurt, and then Nick Foles ended up taking over and ended up winning the Super Bowl. You may remember that Philly special where Foles caught a touchdown pass in that game. Foles yesterday went to social media seemingly to give the Broncos a little bit of inspiration, considering they're going to be starting a backup quarterback in the Super Bowl, saying, "Note for the Broncos and their fans, I know it has been an emotional 24 hours. I feel for Bo and the team, and I'm sending prayers for a strong recovery. A positive note going into the game against the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship-type games." There you go. Shots fired at the New England Patriots. Nick Foles, a Super Bowl champion, an all-time legend with the Philadelphia Eagles, as the backup quarterback, winning the Super Bowl. Certainly, unfortunately, didn't really do much after that, but he'll always have that in his back pocket, and the Patriots will always remember that Super Bowl that they lost to the Eagles. So Nick Foles, well done on social media yesterday. All right, a game against Vanderbilt this weekend. On Saturday, the Florida Gators played at Vanderbilt University. But the one issue that they had going into the game is just before the game began, they realized that they forgot several players' jerseys on the road to Vanderbilt. So they show up to the stadium and they get in the locker room and 3 players don't have their gear. This is true. So what do you do with this spot? Well, 2 of the players, they had extras. So they ended up wearing the another player on the team that wasn't playing, and they just wore those. But Xavier Lee, one of their starters, who wears number 1, they decided to give him a number 99 jersey. That's all they had left. And so Lee ended up scoring 21 points and hitting 42% of his three-pointers, 21 points being a career high for Xavier Lee, wearing the number 99 jersey. And in his regular jersey, well, let's just say he averages approximately 11 points per game. Just goes to show you, you never know how a game could work out. The Gators end up beating Vanderbilt. Maybe Xavier Lee switches his jersey from number 1 to number 99. A good player on the Gators, but playing at a much higher level with jerseys that were not even his. How about that? All right, national championship game tonight at Hard Rock Stadium. I'm very surprised, but it looks like these tickets are not coming down. As of right now, the lowest price for 2 tickets, not 1, 2 tickets, is about $3,000 for a pair of 2 tickets tonight. That's in the upper deck. I've been checking this throughout the day, and I'll check again tonight. So that comes in as the highest priced national championship ticket since 2009. It's 8% less than what it was earlier in the week, but that's only natural. But as of right now, and that doesn't even include the parking, which is like $300-400, to watch this game tonight in person in South Florida, if you're a fan of Indiana, Miami, or you're just going to the game, it's going to cost you approximately, it looks like about $1,000 to $1,500 a ticket. And that's if you're going by yourself. You're getting a pair of 2. It's about $3,000. I'm looking. It keeps coming down, but not by a lot. So that's just sort of incredible. The reason why, by the way, folks, is that living here in South Florida, as long as I have, I can tell you that we here show up for the big games. We may not show up for the regular season, the Dolphins, the Heat, the Marlins, or the Panthers, but when it comes to championships, especially if our team is in it, then we show up. And by the way, if Indiana was playing Mississippi, these tickets would be $300-400. But because everybody in South Florida wants to go tonight, that's the reason why the tickets are so expensive. Enjoy the game tonight. All right, that'll do it for the show. Thanks to our guests, Vinny Iyer of Sporting News, Jacob Kamaker of USA Today, Joe Ranieri of SportsGrid, Adam Kaplan, our SportsGrid insider, and Bill Bender of Sporting News as well. We'll be back with another edition of NewsWire tomorrow. We will recap the national championship game and start taking a look forward to the AFC and NFC championship games. Of course, it's golf season. We'll have the latest on that. And we'll also recap all of the NBA games currently going on right now on this Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. For those of you who have the day off, definitely hope to see you tomorrow here on the show. Thanks to our director, Luke. For my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. That'll do it for our Monday edition of NewsWire. We'll see you tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern, for our next show. Hope you have a great rest of your day and night. I will see you then for the latest on everything happening in the world of sports. See you then.